So I would like to unpack a sixth grade English and Language Arts standard for the Illinois, from the Illinois Common Core standards. This particular standard is Common Core 6W2A. It's for text types and purposes, and it reads: introduce a topic, organize ideas, concepts, and information using strategies such as definition, classification, comparison and contrast, and cause and effect, including formatting such as headings, graphics, charts, tables, and multimedia when useful to aiding comprehension. I chose this standard because I believe that it outlines the overall guidelines of good writing. As a writer myself, I know that there is a disconnect between middle school writing, high school writing, and collegiate writing, especially in that first and second year of composition, of which I have taught. And so I would like to bridge that gap by focusing on how to formally write about a topic, event, or idea. Some skills that the students would develop include defining terms or events in a formal essay or reflection. They will also learn to use strategies such as compare and contrast to further express their ideas about those chosen topics. The students will also learn to introduce their topics in that formal way that I mentioned earlier, including using proper formatting, multimedia and graphics when incorporating them into a project, such as some of the assignments that I will mention briefly below. I believe that project-based learning assignments will help to make this particular standard a unit of learning for the students. And I would definitely incorporate multiple mini lessons as well as some journal writing and a project somewhat as like a summative for the ELA portion of this class. So as far as the two assignments or projects are concerned, the first assignment that I thought would fit perfectly with this standard is to have a journal entry, which is a reflection on unsung heroes. So for Black History Month, I am teaching sixth grade about how to express themselves with their writing. And I thought that because some of the students, they were very interested in some of the figures that were mentioned in one of the documentaries that we were watching, that I could turn that into our writing workshop focus. So students will write about the documentary shown in class or the one that they chose from their Google Classroom collection of videos that I have there. They will then describe their initial reactions, questions, and even emotions associated with the topics discussed in the film. They will be expected to write using proper grammar, correct punctuation, and specified formatting. So, for example, I have a very specific heading that I would like them to use for their journal entries, and that has been described and expressed in the class for them. And then I also, we brainstorm before we actually start writing so that students feel energized and they feel like they have something to build from. So today I actually did this lesson, and the some students were stuck and they didn't know how to start. So we came up kind of with a word web, but it was more of an idea web. And I'd say, what questions should we ask ourselves about this video? Or what questions would I ask myself about the particular person who was in this part of the film was Emmett Till. And so I had a lot of reactions, and I said that that was a great place to start, especially for a reflection in your journal. So I think that that was very productive. The second assignment that I felt would fit perfectly within this standard is a Black History project. Students will present their take on the importance of an unsung hero or a historic Black figure that they already know of. They'll research that individual and describe how he or she has impacted their lives, society, or the current status of Black people in America. This essay would be about 2 to 3 pages in length, written with proper grammar, punctuation, and the specified formatting that I would discuss in class and with a rubric. And then the students would also be required to include graphics and some sort of multimedia aspect. So for example, because it is for like a social studies perspective, they might create a timeline of maybe what types of things are going on in the world, what things have changed, maybe who the president is, things like that. And just basically present that in a timeline form. And they can create that using like an infographic, or even if they want to create a video like I'm doing now and describe what's kind of going on during that time, I think that would be a creative way to express themselves for their Black History project. As far as the assessment of their mastery or their growth in the skills are concerned, I would definitely compare their writing samples throughout the unit, from that first maybe journal entry or brainstorming session that we have, or even a bell ringer that I might have for them, and then see with our mini lessons if I see any improvement, if I see more hands going up to correct maybe errors that weren't being found quickly before. You know, I could have the whiteboards up where they're writing a sentence, and then I ask them to put in the correct punctuation, just to do like a, you know, a small formative assessment. So there are lots of ways that I could see that they are either mastering or growing in those areas highlighted in this standard. More specifically, I would assign journal topics throughout that unit to see where the students begin, and then at the end how they have improved. I would pay close attention to the peer edited drafts as well as the independent drafts of larger assignments like the Black History Project, and gauge their ability to carry out the writing process with those mini lessons. So I believe that is all I have for unpacking this standard, and I believe that hopefully my students will benefit from that overall perspective I have of the writing process and what a good writer needs to know based on this one standard together.